Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Cup of Joy. I'm your host, Ariana Joy Christie, and I am so glad that you are here. This is a space to inspire, to learn, to grow, and to challenge. Get ready to fill your cup and spread a little joy along the way. Hello, and welcome to Your Cup of Joy. I'm Ariana Joy Christie, your host, and today is a solo episode. I'm so excited to just chit chat with you, and I wanted to start off by saying a huge thank you. Thank you to those of you who have been following along, who have watched this podcast journey start and come to fruition. I think this is episode 12, which seems so wild to me because I feel like it just started. And I've got to have the most incredible conversations with amazing people. And so I'm so appreciative for you tuning in, listening, downloading, sharing, commenting, and mostly for giving your feedback. Receiving your feedback has been so nice for me to really understand what it is that you are wanting to hear, what things you liked from each episode. And it's such a nice time for me to be able to reflect back on the episode and really think about those conversations more in depth. So I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the support. And I'm just so grateful for you all for being here. So thank you. Um, the concept of filling your cup and having this Your Cup of Joy podcast was centered around self-care, I think, because once I became a mom, it was like self-care. What is that? Like shower at 9 p.m. when the kids are sleeping and pray they don't wake up, or only get to pee with a child staring at you or touching you or screaming at you. And it became this thing of not only was I not practicing self-care, but I also wasn't even allowing my basic needs to be met, which when you say it sounds so silly, like, oh, I'm a grown adult and I can't even take care of myself and my basic needs. But when life happens, that just kind of happens. Like, it's so silly, but it really is the truth. And so, yes, we need to take care of our basic needs and prioritize those. But in addition to that, I think we need to really be paying attention to things that make us feel happy and that bring us joy. So I think filling your cup can sound like a little bit cliche, where it's like, oh, what do you do to fill your cup? Oh, make sure your cup is full. But even though it sounds cliche, it really is just like taking it back to the basics. And I think what I've learned from this podcast so far is that self-care looks different for everybody. It's so different. And it can be different for you in different times of your life. So, like, self-care for me sometimes is just silence, time to go for a walk, um, even just 5 minutes of alone time. Sometimes sitting in my car and drinking a coffee for a little bit longer while I let the groceries sit in the trunk because I just want a minute of peace. Um, or it can look like, bigger things like having a spa day. Yes, that is so nice. But for some people, it's not, they don't enjoy it, or it maybe just isn't realistic to have a full day to do something like that, especially when you're in the depths of a heavy career load, children, demanding life. Maybe you're traveling for work. There are so many things that can kind of be roadblocks in terms of practicing self-care. And so I think what I've learned for sure is that prioritizing your time is so key. I time block because I'm a working parent. Like, I need time with my kids. I'm home for dinner most nights. I book my meetings the same way that you would book even a doctor's appointment. I think if you book time in your schedule to prioritize self-care, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes, that makes a world of difference. And I'm realizing that I used to just say, oh, I don't have time. But now if I do take 5 minutes in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, like whenever you have that time, usually for me, it's around 12:30 when the children are napping. And I feel like I have so many things to do. There's laundry to fold, there's work to do, there's all these things. But I think if I just take a few minutes within that, 2 hour nap time span where I'm really just doing something for me, it helps me become way more motivated to do all the other things that I was kind of like dreading in a sense. So I think just prioritizing time is like the first step, making sure that you're really time blocking a bit of time for you to just enjoy what you want to enjoy. Read a book, watch some trash TV. That's my favorite. Chill out, have a hot coffee, any of that. And so self care for me is like, it's different on each day or different on each week because sometimes I'm like a socially driven person. So when people are like, oh, make sure you take time for yourself, sometimes that's like a dread for me. Like, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be by myself. I want to be with people. And noticing that and knowing those things about yourself, I think make a world of difference because then you're able to actually enjoy the time doing something that you want to do. So don't let other people dictate what self care is or how that looks for you. If you want to be with people, be with people. If you want to be by yourself, be by yourself. If you want to be with your family, do that. Like, there are no limitations to things that make you feel good. And I think that that's what self care is. It's just something that brings you joy and that makes you genuinely feel good. Um, I want to chat a little bit about something that I've been doing lately, also, which is kind of wild. I have mixed feelings about it, but I started playing soccer again. I haven't played soccer since like way before I had kids. I think before my wedding, even. And it just like stopped. Like, it was something that I grew up always doing. Like, I always played soccer. I played my entire childhood. I then got into university and started playing like intramurals. And then I always played in a co-ed league. That was like so fun as an adult when I was in my like bartending days. It was like my fun thing to do. I loved it. It's a great way to um, get my body moving, have a bit of exercise, but also social. Like, it's kind of like a beer league. So I could like go out after or just see people and spend time together. It was like so much fun for me. And then I stopped. And then it just like wasn't a priority. And then I had kids and then I realized, oh my gosh, like it's been like 4 or 5 years and I haven't even touched a soccer ball. Like, it was wild. So my kids started playing soccer and I was like, wow, I kind of missed this. So I like reconnected with some of the people that I played with before and I was like, are we having a team? Like, do you guys still play? Anyways, we started a team again in a league. My sister's even playing now too. So we get to play together. And I went to my first game a few weeks ago before we were away at the cottage. And it was like wild because I was nervous. I was like, I haven't touched a soccer ball in years. Like, what am I going to do? What if I suck? Do I even know how to kick a ball? Like, this is a game that you play, and the more you play, the better you are. And if you stop playing, like, are you going to suck? So I was so nervous, and my sister couldn't come the first game, which made me more nervous. The whole entire day, I was like, I'm not going. Like, I'm just going to wait. I don't have to go. I can just say that I'm sick or like, it's right at bedtime. So it's like the most inconvenient timing. I can just say like, oh, I can't come because I have to put the kids to bed. I had all these excuses in my head. And then I had this like battle in my mind going on of being like, okay, it will be good for me. I'll enjoy it. I've wanted to play again for so long. Like, just do it. It'll be fun. What's the worst thing that can happen? If I hate it, I can make an excuse halfway through and leave. Like, what's the worst thing that happens? So then I realized, like, oh my gosh, I don't even have soccer cleats. Like, one thing about pregnancy is your entire body changes, like, not just like parts of your body, like all of your body. Like, two things that happened to me through my pregnancy is my feet grew and my eyes went to shit. So I can't see. I'm waiting on my glasses to come here. And my feet grew. So like I had to get all new shoes. So not only did I not know where my soccer cleats were, like somewhere in my house, or maybe I threw them out, who knows, or donated them. I also was like, even if I find them, they won't fit me. So what do? I can't play if I don't have soccer cleats. And then, oh my gosh, I don't have shin guards either. Like, where would those even be? I don't even have soccer socks. You know what? I didn't even have a pair of black athletic shorts because my body changed so much when I was pregnant. And if I work out, I wear leggings or like, I don't know, something else. Like, I don't wear athletic shorts anymore. How silly. Like, I used to live in them. So I was like, okay, I need to go shopping because this is my first roadblock and I need to overcome it. So I went to Sport Check in our little town here, and I was like praying that they had anything in my size. I picked up cleats, I picked up socks, shin guards, and a pair of shorts. And I was like, okay, this is going to be it. Here I go. So I was having a work day. So I was like, okay, I will. Oh, also, it's on Tuesdays, and the kids have soccer on Tuesdays. So the twins had soccer at 4:50 till 5:30. And then my game started at 6:30. In my wild, busy brain, I was like, oh, I'll take the kids to soccer. I'll go home. I'll start getting them ready for bed. I'll get changed and then I'll go back to the soccer field, the same soccer field. Also, this game was at the same field, just like the same park, but one field over. Um, so like then I'll have time to change. So I was at work, like in my strapless bra, heels, all of that. I had the pair of athletic shorts in the car. I asked our nanny who was driving the kids to soccer, I was meeting them there, to bring me a t-shirt because I was wearing a blouse from work. And I was like, oh, like the kids soccer, the adults have to be involved. So I was like, I need something athletic to wear. And can you bring my flip-flops? Because I didn't even have flip-flops. I just had heels. I was not prepared because I was so stressed about the soccer game. So I changed in the car. I went to the kids' soccer, and then we were just playing. Like their uncle and aunt came to the game, so we were just like hanging out. And then I was like, "Oh my gosh, guys! Like my game is starting in like 10 minutes." Like so, I run back to the parking lot to my car to get my cleats that I've just purchased that still have the tags on them, to get my shin guards that are still in the plastic, to get my socks, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I don't even have a sports bra. Like, what am I gonna do?" So I'm like, there's another roadblock. Like, get over it, Ariana. The bra holds your boobs up. It doesn't matter if it's a sports bra. You're going to do it. If you have to tape them, you have to tape them. So uh, I just was like, mind over matter. I'm going to do it. Like, what's the worst thing that happens? I suck. Cool. Who cares? So I battled in my mind for a while. I went to the game. I said bye to the kids. They went home to bed. I got to the game. And um And I, like, felt the need to tell everybody, like, "Oh, I'm gonna suck. I haven't played in years." Like, I don't know why we have to, like, justify that to other people. Like, if I suck, I suck. Who cares? And so we start, like, warming up, like, just, like, passing the ball. We're shooting the ball at the net. I didn't even take a shot at the net because I was like, "If I kick this ball, I don't even know where it's gonna go. I don't even know if I remember how to kick a ball." So someone would pass it to me, and I would just, like, stop it and, like, pass it to the person next to me because I was like, "No, I can't." Anyways, the game started. I'm like, okay, here we go. And it kind of was like a little bit like riding a bike. Like I had so much fun. It was a great time. I was not amazing by any means, but I did fine. Kicked the ball. It was all right. And it just was so much fun. The only thing is my cardio is like down the drain. So I was absolutely gassed. Like I was like, I might throw up here. But it was okay. Like everybody was tired. Everybody was gassed too. Like they were kind of all in the same boat. So it ended up being so fun. I was so happy. I was exhausted. My body hurt like I was like 80 years old, but it was so much fun. And I'm so, so glad that I did it and that I kind of just like rekindled this old passion of mine. Um, so tonight actually is like the first time that my sister and I both will be at a game together this season. And I'm just so looking forward to it. Like we get sister time, we get to hang out afterwards if we want. We get to have some form of exercise. So I know my body will feel good. I know I'll have like mental clarity because I always feel better when I'm moving my body. And it's like the best form of exercise because you don't really feel like you're working out. I have like a weird relationship with exercise because I feel like I hate it half the time, but I always feel good after. And so this is a great way to engage in exercise for me because I don't really feel like I'm hating it. I'm like enjoying it. So, anyways, I started playing soccer again. It's been so good, so fun. It's socially amazing. It fills my cup. It's good exercise. And it's like yeah, rekindling an old passion that I had, which I think is amazing and so fun. So, hobbies as adults, I think, is like a form of self care and something that I'm becoming very aware of as my kids. So my twins now are 3.5, and Callie will be 2 in October. And so it's like this weird stage of like knowing I have to prioritize myself, still wanting to do like all the things with them, also wanting to like advance in my career, put time into my work. I feel like I'm a little bit in limbo, but I'm reflecting back on the times in early motherhood when I felt like I was literally drowning and where I just lost myself and all my hobbies and who I was. So, like, soccer is one example. I used to play guitar at least once a week, sometimes 5 times a week. And I haven't picked up my guitar since before my children were born, all of them. My mom and I used to play together. Um, she plays piano. She's a music therapist. I would go to her house, and the first thing we would do is play music together. We don't do it anymore. I'm like, where did that get lost? Like, how did that happen? But you just get busy. Like, it's the same thing as practicing self care, working out, having alone time, like reading a book, watching TV, like all these things do get pushed to the side when you're busy. And so, um, I'm just realizing that I've like lost all of my hobbies. Like when I was sitting back and reflecting, like, what do I do for fun? I was like, I don't know, like go to the grocery store. Like that's not a hobby. I know I enjoy it sometimes, but that's something that needs to be done. That's a chore. It's an enjoyable chore for me, not for everybody, but that's not self care. Like that is something that needs to be done. And so I'm like, am I a loser? Like, I don't have any hobbies. What do I do for fun? I don't know. And then it was kind of depressing to be like, I haven't picked up my guitar in almost 4 years. That's probably more than 4 years. Like, that's a very, very long time. And to like lose something that you loved that brought you so much joy. So I think my new goal is going to be to rekindle old hobbies, old passions, and also find new hobbies. Like I want to try new things. I want to um, do activities that are fun. Like when I sit back with my kids here for the summer break, I made them like a summer bucket list. And there's all these activities on them, and it's so fun when you're planning activities for kids. But we don't do that for ourselves anymore. Like we don't have activities to do. But why not? Like why not try something new? So anyway, I'm going to start trying some new things. I will keep you posted on the things that I try and the things that I love. And I'm interested to hear what kind of hobbies you're going to rekindle or passions you're going to rekindle because I just think it can be so healthy. Like the amount of joy that one soccer game brought me 3 weeks ago is like amazing. And the fact that I'm looking forward to playing tonight is also amazing. So I can only see more happiness and more growth from more adult hobbies, which I just love. Um, I want to talk a little bit about building a support system too, so that you're able to do these things like find new hobbies and like rekindle old passions. Because let's be real, if you have children or dogs or other beings to look after, it can be really difficult to prioritize that time or to even have access to that time. And I'm fully aware of that. I understand like not everybody has family close by. Not everybody has a nanny or a babysitter or somebody they can trust with the kids. It's also an expense, which is another roadblock or barrier, no doubt. There are some things that you can involve your children in. So I'm trying to start looking at it like in that way, like, oh, if I have to bring them with me, it will be okay. I know when they're babies, that's really hard unless you have a friend to come with you. But I think building relationships in the hobbies that you do too can really help to have friends who can help out with your kids, to have people who you feel comfortable with, sitting on the sidelines with your kids while they color a picture or something so that you can have a chance to do something that you want to do. And just building that support system so that you can do these things. I am so blessed that my family is close by and that my partner is also helpful in me prioritizing and I guess supportive in me prioritizing things for myself. So like on Tuesdays when I have soccer, like he will take the kids home from soccer, he will put them to bed, so that I don't have to like worry so much about that. So I'm forever grateful for that. That does really help me. But if you don't have that, like start your hobby on your lunch break. Like if you have a half hour lunch break at work, like are you able to go out and take a walk in nature? Maybe that's something you love to do, or pick up an instrument that you've always wanted to play. Like are those things that you can really find time in because your kids are already in programming? Like we have to think outside of the box a little bit to really make sure that this is a priority. Like if you're going to book a doctor's appointment, how do you do that? What kind of care do you have for that? And do that for your hobbies so that you can really make those things happen. There are some places where you can like totally bring your kids along, which is definitely helpful, but I understand that sometimes you just want a little bit of a break. So, all of that to say that I think scheduling time and building a support system are things that really help with prioritizing our hobbies. And it sounds so silly and funny as an adult to be like, what are my hobbies? But it really has brought me so much joy. And I'm excited to see what other hobbies come out of the woodwork. Like, I would love to try Pilates. I want to do like a reformer Pilates class where you're like on the machine, you know. I watch a lot of Real Housewives and like Kardashians and stuff like that. And they do those Pilates, like reformers class. Would love to try that. Um, I'm trying to think of what other things I really want to do. Like, it doesn't have to be physical activity. I'd love to do an art class. I'm not creative. I am not an artiste, but I think it would be so much fun. Like, I take my kids to play with clay and I watch them and I'm like, I kind of want to do this. So, like, maybe that's something I need to do. Or like a paint night. Or I did a candle making class once. That was so much fun with a bunch of girls. It was actually for my mom group and I loved it. So I'm like, why don't we do that again? Um, Anyways, I'll keep you updated with my hobbies that I'm going to embark on. And I hope you guys keep me updated with yours too, because I need some ideas. Okay, so yesterday I asked on my Instagram for some questions that you would love answered as kind of a Q&A portion of this solo episode. So I'm just going to dive right into them. Thank you for submitting your questions. I've chosen a few that were repeated or that I thought could spark a good conversation, and I will just go ahead and answer them. So, first off, I actually thought that this was a really good question because I hear this a lot from people, especially even my mom. So, here's the question. Women are so overwhelmed with life, it seems. So, why do we keep adding more to our plates? This is a light bulb moment for me because my mom had said that to me too. Like, okay, so you're saying you're going to start a podcast. Like, you're so busy. Why don't you wait a little bit? Like, why are you adding another thing to your plate? This is the thing. It makes me happy. I love it. Like, it's one thing to say, like, oh, don't be busy. But if you love it and it motivates you to do all the other things that you have to do, then do it. Like, there's no limit on what we should or shouldn't do. And you know yourself best. So if you feel overwhelmed and you're adding another thing to your plate, because maybe you're a people pleaser, I am, um, then yes, maybe we can reassess like what things can we take off our plate. But if there are things that you want to do them. Don't let anything stop you. Find a way to make it happen because like we said, like we're just everybody's needs come before our own. So let's fill our plates with things that we love. Maybe push the things off our plates that we don't need to be doing. Like, of course, we need to do laundry, we need to clean. Those might not be things that we like love to do. But if your house is a little bit messy or there's a load of laundry that's been postponed, that is okay. If there's clean underwear, it's fine if there's only one pair. Like, you'll get through that day then. You know what I mean? So it's okay if your house is a little bit messy, if it means that your heart is full, and you'll get to that part and it's fine. So I think we also have pressures of adding to our plates. Like, I do get that part of that question of like, why do we do it? Why do we add more to our plates? Because we're asked to, or because we feel like society would tell us to. Like, there's this big thing right now of like, you only get 18 summers with your kids, so make the best of them. And then you feel all this pressure, especially if you're working, like to take time off of work and prioritize the time with your kids because you're never going to get it back and they grow so fast and blah, blah, blah. And it's almost like a scare tactic to be like, you have to spend the time with your kids. And I just hate that because as parents, like, of course we want to spend time with our kids, okay? Like, we all do. But it's okay to want other things too that don't involve your kids. Like, give yourself grace for that. It's okay to want to have a career or to want to have friendships outside of your kids, to want alone time. Like, it's okay to want those things, even if it's away from your kids. And you can balance it with really great time with your kids. So I just think, yeah, it's a little bit toxic to be like, you have to do all of it. But it's also, I think, not right to be like, oh, don't do any of it. Like, at the end of the day, fill your plate with things that bring you joy and that make you happy. The age gap between the twins and Callie. So this is like a little bit of a wild one, but the twins were 18 months when Callie was born. So when I look back, like, I think when you have newborns, like, your mindset is different and you almost like don't realize how wild it is. That might be like a harsh opinion, but I think that your brain like clouds how crazy it is to be looking after these little lives with all of your being and never taking care of yourself. And it normalizes it. Like, when you're going through something like that, you're like, oh, it's fine. It's normal. Like, sleep, for instance, you have a newborn and you're awake all through the night, every 2.5 to 3 hours. You're exhausted, but then you wake up and you function like a normal human being. You know, you go to the grocery store, you go to mom groups, you have coffee dates with people, you hang out, you clean the house, you do all the things. And you're literally a zombie, but your body just recoups. Like, it's like, oh, we're fine. We're surviving. We're good. So I think that you don't actually like really clue into the fact that it's crazy to be doing that. Um, and then you just move on with life's decisions as if it's like normal. So I was like, yeah, we have twins. Like, we didn't expect to have twins. It's busy. It will always be busy. And so while we're in the weeds, let's just go for another one, because I really wanted to experience what one was like. I had a traumatic birth with the twins. So I wanted to have, you know, like a redemptive birth and experience it in the way that I really wanted to. And I knew I wanted to have more than two children, if that was something that was a possibility for me. And so I was like, okay, it's now or never, because we're already in the weeds. Like, once we're out and we see the light, I don't think we're going back in. So that was our deciding factor of trying for Callie. Which seems a little bit wild now that I look back on it. And then I think back to the times when I was pregnant, taking care of the toddlers, or also like had the newborn. And I'm like, that was like pure insanity. Like, that actually is wild that, you know, when they're your kids, you're like, oh, they're so advanced. They're doing all these things. Like, they're growing up. But I look back, like, the twins could not walk up the stairs by themselves at bedtime. Like, they weren't old enough to do stairs. And we live in a 2-story house. So I was like 9 months pregnant with an 11-pound child, carrying two twins, two 18-month-olds, up the stairs. Like, that is a recipe for disaster when I think about it now. And the twins really only liked to be picked up at the same time. They didn't like to share or take turns. So I would literally just carry them both all the time around my big old belly. So that seems wild. And then they were still nursing. So, like, I nursed them my whole pregnancy. So anyway, I'm thankful for everything that we have. I'm so grateful for our family. I love that the kids are close in age, and it is so beautiful now at this stage of life. But I think in the newborn stage, it was like survival mode, for sure, for sure, for sure. And it was very difficult, but a blessing. So anyway, 18 months. We had 3 under 2 for a little while. Wild. Next question is, fellow twin mom, how do you strike a good work-life balance as a working mom? Let me tell you, you don't. This is like a myth that I'm on a mission to debunk. I had a therapist after I had the twins because that birth was very traumatic for me. That timing was really, really wild. And so I saw this trauma therapist, and I was saying to her one day, I'm just really trying to find a balance, like I know I'm career motivated. I love working, but I've always wanted to be a mom and I want to have that time with the kids. And so I'm really trying to just find a balance. And she laughed at me. And I was like, well, I never want to talk to this lady again. She sucks. And then she said to me that you're never going to have balance because it's impossible to have balance, because that means the definition of balance would be to have two things equal. And those two things will never be fully equal. One day you'll give more to your work, one day you'll give more to your kids, and it will never be actually equal. So try to reframe it and look at it as having a good blend, not balance. So now whenever somebody says balance, I always think, okay, a blend. So today is a work day for me. So I'm going to be spending more time in my work. That means when I have the time with the kids tonight at soccer, I'm going to be more intentional. I'm going to leave my phone. I'm going to really focus on them, but I'm going to know that I've spent more time in my work today. So maybe tomorrow or the day after, I'll really prioritize time with them, and then maybe prioritize time with Mike. And it will be this blend of things together that seems a little bit more manageable than balance, because work-life balance is, I think, a trendy thing to say, but putting it into action is actually quite difficult. And so, sorry if that's a buzzkill to be like, oh, I don't have work-life balance, but I think I'm in a good routine. Like, I'm finding that when I'm with the kids, I'm really with the kids. And when I'm at work, I'm really at work. So if I can fit all of my work into a couple of days and spend time with that, and then fit my time with the kids into a couple of days and really spend time on them, then it seems more manageable. I'm also very lucky that the twins and Callie all nap, and they all are on the same nap schedule right now. I remember in the early days, they were early days for quite a lot of months, probably a year. They were on opposing nap schedules. So Callie was on two naps and they were on one nap. And that was terrible and made it so difficult for me to do anything like with them or without them. Like, it was wild because somebody was always sleeping, and I'm very, very strict on sleep for good reason, I feel like. Um, so I'm very lucky that now they're on the same nap schedule, because then I can do some work in the time they nap. So if I'm having like a busy work week and I have deadlines to meet or things to do, then I can spend like my morning doing an activity with them, put them down for their nap, do some work, and then spend the afternoon, evening with them. And so that, to me, it seems like a good blend of my time. So I think finding what works for you is great. Finding pockets of time that you really can really commit to one or the other, like work or life, and then really just like focusing on that, having like a driven mindset in those fields is helpful. Because I used to say to my mom all the time, like, I'm always failing. Like, if I can do a few things in a day, like one is gonna suck. So like either my house will be clean, or my kids will be really happy, or I'll be really, really great in my relationship, or I will have friend time, or I will have time to practice self-care. And all of those things cannot happen. So one of them is always going to have that ball dropped. And it was like frustrating to me because I'm an all or nothing person and I wanted to do all of these things, but it's like, how do you do them? Um, and so the answer for me in that was grace. Give yourself grace. It's so hard. It's so difficult to do, but you have to be gracious with yourself, because if it was your friend that you were talking to and looking at and they were like, look, I can't finish my work, or I can't get time with my friends, or I can't get to the gym or practice self-care, and I can't cook dinner, like all these things are happening, I can only do like 3 of the 5 things, you wouldn't be like, oh, you suck, you're failing. You'd be like, man, that's a lot of things that you're doing. Like, just put a couple of them aside till tomorrow. Like, give yourself some grace. And you would genuinely mean that. So I often reflect and think, like, if I can talk to myself the way that I talk to my friends or people in my life, I would be a lot more loving and gracious to myself. So, yeah, be gracious. You'll get the things done in due time. How was it having twins? We are planning our next child and we would secretly love to have twins. Okay. I get that a lot. Like, I feel like people either say like, oh, it's my worst nightmare to have twins, or, oh, I've always wanted to have twins. Like, it's polarized. It's one or the other. And I'm forever grateful for the twins. Like, It's been so beautiful, so amazing. It's hard for me to imagine anything else because my lived experience is twins first. Um, but it was hard. Like, it tested me. It tested my relationship. It tested my relationships, plural, like with friends and family. Um, I think when you have a baby, like your priorities change. You realize that it's not like having a doll in high school that you just have to feed and change their diaper every now and again. Like, this is a full time job. And then it's two. And so I had to let go of a lot of ideas I had of what kind of parent I would be because it's not possible, like, not physically possible to pick your child up every time they're crying if both of them are crying. Like, they had to learn that, like, you're going to have to cry for a minute because I'm taking care of your brother and vice versa. Lots of multitasking and lots of giving because they both need you and there's only one of you. So it was definitely difficult. On the flip side, it's beautiful because there's so much love. Like, I remember when I told my family that we were having twins, my brother and sister were like, oh my gosh, yay. Like, we never have to fight over who gets to hold the baby. So in that regard, it is nice. Like, you always get cuddles. You're always, holding a baby. And so there are beautiful things and there are difficult things. Feeding a baby is very hard. Feeding two babies is very, very hard. Like, it's just double everything. But the thing is that as parents, like, we just make it work. Like, it was what it was. And I'm forever grateful. So it is a blessing. The coolest thing for me is seeing the twins connection now. When they were born, they were separated for 10 days. They were at separate hospitals on day like 4 of life or 3 of life. And I was so worried. Like, they've spent this whole time in my stomach together growing, and now they're torn apart. Like, they're not going to have that twin connection that everybody like talks about. And I worried for nothing because the connection is incredible. It's so cool to see them have like a built-in best friend, to really have compassion and love for each other. Yes, they fight and argue like normal siblings do. Um, but they also love each other very hard. And so that is such a blessing to witness. So overall, I love having twins. Um, and it's a really cool connection you have with other twin parents. It's like twin parents love twin parents because we just know what we've gone through. Like, it's wild. Um, so it's amazing and difficult all at once. How do you divide your attention between 3 kids? I just joined the 2 under 2 club and I'm struggling. This is a great question because I'm struggling. So, because I had twins, like, I never got individual time with them. I remember Oscar had a specialist appointment and I took just him and I was like, this is the first time I've ever had like one-on-one time with him outside of the home. Like, it was, and he was like, I don't know, 6 months or something. So, it's very difficult, especially with 3 littles, to prioritize one-on-one time because I feel like when you have two, like, if you're in a partnership, like, mom can take one, your partner can take the other, and then you both have individual time with the kids. I think that's like really special and really cool. When there's 3, it's like one of you could take one kid, then the other has 2 kids. So it's not like they're getting one on one. It just seems like more planning and logistics to do. So I've been not so great at having one on one time um, with the kids because normally when I plan it, I'll be like for instance, Oscar loves doing errands. So usually he comes to the grocery store with me. And for a while, I was getting more one on one time with him because Axel would want to stay home and play with his toys. Now Axel wants to come to the grocery store, which I love because now I get time with him too. But Oscar won't give up that space of going to the grocery store. So I have both of them with me. So Mike and I have talked a lot about this lately about having like dates with our kids and doing something that they really want to do or really love. And so I think that's like my mission for the month of August is to like really prioritize time with each of them and take them on dates, doing things that they want to do. Axel really wants to go to the movie theater. He's been asking ever since Christmas to go back to the movie theater. And so I think I'll take him, like, get some yummy snacks, go to the movies together and spend that time together. Oscar loves people. I think I'll take him to dinner. He loves to go out to dinner and people watch and enjoy some time together and just chit chat. So I think that's my next move, is really just like prioritizing that time, scheduling with Mike so I get some one-on-one time with the kids, and then doing it on the flip side. Like, I want Mike to have that one-on-one time with each of them too, because they're 3.5 now. So they're at this fun age where they're like really understanding relationships, telling stories, talking about their days. And I want to fully embrace that. So it is hard to divide your attention amongst more than one child. Um, Sometimes it's necessary. Like, sometimes it's like, oh, I'm feeding this child, so they're getting my attention. You have to wait your turn. But other times I think it has to be intentional and we have to really prioritize that. So that's like a big thing for me that I'm trying to do lately. Um, Somebody asked, are you where you thought you would be at your age? Ooh. So I was with my manager yesterday. She was like, so how do you feel being 30? Because it was like a big thing when I turned 30. I felt like I turned 30 this year in February. And I was like, it's kind of weird. Like, I feel like my identity was being in my 20s and now it's not anymore. So, like, that's a weird thing to me, but it's becoming more normal. And I'm just embracing it. Like, I don't, age is just a number. It's obviously a saying that is said often, but I do believe that. Um, but my stage in life, like, I'm happy. I've always wanted to be a mom. I'm thankful I'm a mother. I love my career, careers, plural. I sell real estate, which I love. I do content creation, and this podcast is so fun for me. And so I don't know where I thought I would be at 30, but I'm happy where I am at 30, if that makes sense. I think the hard thing too is like, I'm not where I imagined my life would be, maybe not necessarily by age, but like I never thought that I would be a realtor or a content creator or sharing my life publicly online. But those are things that I love now and they have become part of my identity. I actually always thought that I either wanted to be um, a therapist or a social worker. So my undergrad is in, it's a Bachelor of Applied Science at U of G, with a major in child, youth, and families and a minor in psychology. I started a master's in counseling psychology because I really thought I was going to be a therapist. And now I'm like, wow, I can't even imagine what my life would be like if that's the direction I took. So I think there's something to be said of like, you can have like goals and aspirations and things that you think that you're going to do, but also life happens. And sometimes following the direction of, the timing and the things that are happening and the connections that you're making can be beneficial. It's not to say like let go of your dreams, but if you realize what you're working towards is something that you don't actually think will make you happy, like don't do it. I dropped out of my master's because I was like, I'm never going to love this job. I know it. So yeah, follow your heart, I think. Um, Someone asked baby names. How do you choose them? The ones that you liked but didn't use. Well, baby names are hard. When we first were pregnant, obviously it was two. So we were like, okay, we need two first names and two middle names, but we never found out sex. So we were like, okay, we actually need double that if we're not using unisex names or if we only like them for one sex, because like it could be two boys, could be two girls, could be a boy and a girl, like who knows. So we felt like we needed a lot of names because we didn't know like who we were naming. Um, and so basically our way of choosing was when we thought of a name that we liked, we would like text it to each other, Mike and I, or we would add it to like a list. We had a running list only if both of us liked it. Because there are lots of names that I loved that he did not like, or lots of names that he loved that I did not like. Or there's names that you kind of like, but you know someone, like a kid in kindergarten had that name when you were in kindergarten, and so you'll always remember that person if you name them that. Like it's so silly, but you think of certain things when you think of certain names. And so we just kept a running list of all the ones that we liked, and we would sometimes go over them in the evening and say like, which one do we like the most? What do we like for first names? What do we like for middle names? What sounds good together? So we knew our first name, like our top name was Oscar. We found that boy names were so much easier than girl names. I don't know why, for us to like really like or picture our children with. So Oscar came out. They were like, it's a boy. And so I was like, okay, his name's Oscar. And then we loved the name Theodore. So that's his middle name. And I also thought like maybe we would name the other kid Theodore, like Theo, so cute. But Oscar Theodore sounded so cute together to me. So, anyways, Oscar Theodore. And then Axel was born 17 minutes later. And they were like, it's a boy. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to name him. Like, we don't know. We like a few boy names. I don't know. Because I kind of thought in my pregnancy that it was a boy and a girl. So I like was thinking about girl names. Anyway, uh, so we took a few hours. We went back to our room and, they needed CPAP and feeding tubes and like UV lights and whatever. Like they needed everything. So we were like, he needs a strong name. And we really love short names. And we loved the name Axel. So we named him Axel Tatum because I also really loved the name Tatum. Um, and yeah, so they all had cool meanings too when we looked after, but it really was just names that we really liked and keeping a list. If we had a boy, another boy, when Callie was born, we would have named him Watson. I love the name Watson. And his middle name would have been Atlas. Watson Atlas. Like, how cute is that? I just love that so much. I love old names, but I also love like contemporary names too. So it's like a weird mix. But I just thought Atlas is like such a cool name. Mike and I love to travel, and I liked it as a middle name. And then Watson is just so cute. So anyway, if we had a girl, I really wanted to name her River. I love that name so, so much. And I loved the name Luna. Mike didn't like it because he was like, people might call her Looney Luna. And I was like, who cares? Luna is such a pretty name. Um, but we went with Callie, and her middle name is Belle because Mike always calls me Bella. So I thought that was cute for a middle name. Um, but yeah, those are some names that we loved and didn't use, and the names that we did use. Another question that somebody asked, I thought was very a cool question because it's something that's not talked about often. And it was managing finances with young kids. Is anybody actually saving money when their kids are little? So, personally, yes, we save money for our household. We save money for each of our kids because we're self employed. And so we have to. Like, we don't have a retirement, pension, or anything like that. So, anyways, we have a savings plan that we do in our family. But I can only speak for myself. So what this has shown me is that this is a big topic that people want to understand and want to learn about. So I'm going to try to find somebody to have on the podcast to talk to about finances, especially family finances and finances with kids, because I was taught nothing. When I was a kid, I like learned trigonometry and math class, but I never learned about taxes or saving. And I think there is so much valuable information, especially now as a realtor. I'm like, okay, like the investments you can make, the money that you can make, the things that you can do for your family are really interesting and really intriguing and would be beneficial if we knew about them. But when we don't, like how can you plan for something that you don't know about? So I will find somebody to chat with about more about finances and money, especially with kids. But I think that's a great question. And I think my sister was showing me like some TikTok videos about like different savings plans that are really simple, like having a bunch of envelopes. It's like roulette, like each has a number on it and you pull it out and that's how much cash you put in that one, kind of like out of sight, out of mind. So I think it's also dependent on the way that your mind and your brain work. Like if you can have a separate account that you put money into and you leave it there and you know you'll leave it there, great. But if you know you're going to touch it, then like let's find another way for you to save in a way that you know you're not going to spend it. And money is a funny topic that people don't love to talk about because it makes people feel uncomfortable. But I think it's such an important one, especially when we're talking about kids and considering the cost that it is to have children. So that was a good question, and we'll answer more. Stay tuned. And last question is life with three littles, experiences with sleep and transitions from cribs to beds, etc. So this is wild. I am like so into sleep, especially for kids. Like I'm like, this is the most important thing. I'm very strict about it. I do not let them skip a nap. I do not let them sleep past a certain time. I don't let them miss any of their sleep. Like they were not having a later bedtime. This is your bedtime. Anyway, you can love that or you could hate it. It doesn't matter. That's what works for my family. With three littles, it's necessary. I need them to sleep. They need to sleep. They're happier when they sleep. Their brains develop when they sleep. I think it's healthy for kids to have sleep. So my kids are 3.5. They still nap. I'm a little bit concerned because when they go to school, like in September, it's like a new class and they don't nap in that class. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm going to try to keep the weekend nap for as long as I can. My kids are still in cribs. Yeah, I know it's a little bit wild. Um, they do look a little bit big in their cribs, but hear me out. They feel comfortable in them. They love them. They're safe in them. And they know that's their bed. So I'm in no rush to transition. There was a time when Oscar started climbing out of his crib, and I thought, oh no, like this is the end. This is the end of our cribs. And then I started a sticker chart. And I'm not kidding you. Immediately he stopped. He hasn't climbed out since. So if he's not climbing out and it's not unsafe, I'm keeping them in those cribs. I think we're close to transition time. Like I didn't want to do two big transitions at once. So I didn't want to put them in like big boy beds in September when they're going to a new class that's like at their programming. Like I didn't want to do two big things at once. So I think I'll wait till they're comfortable in them, like in their class, and then maybe we'll transition to big kid beds, like more towards Christmas or winter time ish. I'm just not ready. So I'm not pushing it. We did use a sleep coach, which I think maybe I'll have her on an episode because it was life changing for us. And like I said, I'm so strict, but it's worked for us and our kids are happy and healthy and they sleep. And that's like gives me my sanity too. So life with three littles is busy, but it's beautiful and it's wonderful. And I'm learning that um, as a mom, sometimes your whole identity becomes being a mom. And I think it's okay to have an identity outside of being a mom too. So that's why I'm excited to give more into my career and spend some more time with myself and my hobbies. And I think that that's important and sometimes can be scrutinized like, oh, she doesn't want to spend time with her kids. Like, no, I do. I want to spend time that I love with my kids. I want to spend time doing the things that I really like and being really intentional with that time. And then I want to do things that fill my cup and show my children that they can achieve the goals that they set. They can do things that they want to do, and that um, there's no limit to the things that they are able to do. So, lead by example, be role models for your children, for your friends, for the people around you. But yeah, I hope this leaves you inspired a little bit, gives a bit of information on us and what we're doing. Thank you for asking your questions. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for following along. And I'll have another awesome guest next week. So be sure to tune in. Please also like, rate, follow, download the podcast. Any sharing and feedback is so very appreciated and makes all of the difference for me. So thanks again. Have the best day.